1130 KWOA. We're very happy to be a 65-year pioneer station, bringing Twins baseball to southwest Minnesota, northwest Iowa, and southeast South Dakota. Hey TC, what's up? We are happy to have the Winter Caravan here again. In the past few years, we've done this at the elementary school, and we're very gracious that they were kind enough to allow us this year to do one for the general public. So we're glad that you would come out and get to meet some of the Twins players, some of the Twins coaching staff, and the person I'm about to introduce next. He looks much better than most of us in radio because he does TV. TC, yeah. How do you like how he stole your spotlight there, Dick? You can catch him on Fox Sports North doing your Twins, and a great voice and a great personality for the Twins baseball organization. Please welcome Dick Bremer.
I don't know, based on that introduction, maybe I should start to feel a little bit concerned, because I'm actually going to be doing some games on radio now. Starting in spring training, I'm going to be doing some of the spring training radio games in addition to the TV games I'm doing. So at any rate, we are out on Caravan, and we are really looking forward to the start of the season. I mentioned to somebody before today that last night we were in Mankato, and I caught myself, as the person I was talking to did as well, speaking of winter in the past tense. And I think that happens. I know it was 3 degrees last night in Mankato, but I think when we head out on Caravan and when you come to listen to Twins personnel talk about the start of a new season, in a way it does signify the end of winter, the start of spring. Pitchers and catchers report in less than 4 weeks now, so baseball really is right around the corner. We've got some special guests by means of introduction now in the back of the room, magically back there. The best mascot in baseball, TC, is here in Worthington. You know, I love hearing that, because I grew up in Minnesota, north of here, just up Highway 75 a little bit, in a small town called Dumont. And all right, now there's the more contemporary version of We're Gonna Win Twin, but I remember that song, the original one we just heard, before every radio broadcast the Twins were on, and so that brings back an awful lot of memories for me. So, TC is up here, and we're going to be blessed by having 3 uniform personnel for the Twins in 2013 this year. You want to hear this, or just keep going? Okay, all right. I didn't want to deprive anybody of the We're Gonna Win Twins song. I did want to mention one other thing, though, too. Caravan starts the beginning of the baseball season, but also Twins Fest, which is going to be conducted again at the Metrodome in about a week and a half. So for those of you who want to make the run up to the Twin Cities to go to Twins Fest, you can do that. It's a great way to get ready for baseball as well. We have a current player, a former player and current coach, and the manager of the Minnesota Twins to talk baseball with you here. And so by means of introduction, let me introduce a guy who in 2012 made his major league debut for the Twins as a shortstop. He might be there again in 2013. He might be across the diamond at second base. We're pretty confident he's going to be in the lineup on a regular basis, all the way from Mississippi. He doesn't know what to do with this cold weather. Here's Brian Dozier. We just went through New Ulm a couple of hours ago, and it was a big moment for our next guest because he grew up there, had an all-star career principally with the Oakland A's, finished his career with the Twins, and now he's a member of the coaching staff of the Minnesota Twins. Always good to have Minnesota natives on our coaching staff. Terry Steinbach. ordinarily a bench coach is kind of an invisible factor on a coaching staff, unless, of course, in the rare event the manager gets tossed out. So that's why we might see a lot of Terry Steinbach, because our next guest doesn't have many complete games under his belt. Here's Ron Gardy. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to do kind of a pre-interview with these three guys, and then you'll have a chance to ask some questions, and we'll hopefully leave here in a little while with you focused on the 2013 season. I know we've got some schedules here, and I don't know if they've been passed out yet. TC's doing it right now. One thing you'll notice when you take a look at the schedule, something that's different from other years, the Twins are actually opening their season at home in their outdoor ballpark on April 1st. So we might have some cool weather for the home opener, but which is also the season opener. First time the Twins have opened their season at home in an outdoor ballpark since Metropolitan Stadium in the early 80s. So we're looking forward to hopefully a nice, balmy 61-degree day for the start of the season against the Tigers. Brian Dozier, why don't you stand up? We'll get a couple of questions from you, and then the good folks of Worthington here will have a chance to ask you questions as well. Brian, you mentioned that you last year made your major league debut, got your feet wet, if you will, at short. What experience might you be able to pull out of 2012 to help you prepare for 2013?
2012 was a big learning experience for me, making my MLB debut. I was fortunate enough to spend almost the entire year up in the big leagues, and you know, going into this off season, you know, I kind of reflect back on what the season, this past season, you know, really taught me. And I think one thing, every player has their ups and downs, and but being consistent. You know, if you be consistent along the way, it's a long season, 162 games, but being consistent is one thing that I've learned more than anything, and you have to do that, and that's what I've taken into the off season to prepare myself for 2013. So.
When the Twins moved here in 1961, players typically didn't prepare themselves physically for a baseball season until spring training. The main reason was they had to have jobs in the wintertime to help support their families, but now things have changed. Baseball players can commit to physical fitness all year round. What type of off-season workouts do you do? Well,
you know, I took about a few weeks off after the season, and ever since then I've been training, trying to build my speed up and my range, and just getting in the weight room. It's a funny thing. A good friend of mine, I live about 45 minutes from Josh Willingham, our left fielder, and went about 3 or 4 days ago, went and spent the night with him, and so we're going to work out and stuff, and here I am in Mississippi, 45 minutes away, spending 2 or 3 hours a day working out, and we're about to go work out, and Josh says, you want to get a 15-minute P90X workout with me? And this is a guy that hit 35 home runs, so you'll see me doing P90X from here on out, I guess.
All right, shortstop, second base, the manager's sitting over here, so you're not going to express a preference one or the other. We just want to be in the lineup. But what are the differences in how you might prepare as a shortstop to a second baseman?
Well, I played shortstop my whole life, and this year, this off season, I've spent a lot of time at second base. It's kind of, you know, being on one side of the infield compared to the other, you know, it can feel lopsided a lot of times. And shortstop, you get to see the runner running, and every second base is, you know, out of your peripheral and stuff like that. So just getting my feet wet and becoming as most comfortable as I can on the other side of the bag, and you know, working turns are probably the biggest thing at second base from a double play position and stuff like that. Just to so when spring training hits, I'll hit the ground running, and that's what I've been doing this offseason.
This is his first Twins Caravan. I think he's doing a great job, don't you? Brian Dozier. This is neither our next guest's first Caravan or first rodeo. He's been around for quite a while. He was an all-star catcher for the Oakland A's. He was a pain in the neck, frankly, for Twins fans until he finished his career with the Twins. Stepped out of the game for a while on a full-time basis, and now back in with both feet. Let's bring up Terry Steinbach. Terry? What led to that decision? You were leading a good life, the boys, the family growing up, and a nice quiet life at home without the travel and all that, but now you're jumping back in.
Yeah, it was a situation where, you know, I was fortunate to, like you said, end my career with Minnesota. I had 3 kids and had the opportunity to raise them, get them out of high school, get him into college, and my youngest graduated last year, and he's a freshman at University of Minnesota Duluth, and the opportunity presented itself to get back into the game, and it's something that I have a passion for. You know, you play 14 years in the game, and it's hard, at least for me, just to completely get out of it, and when this situation presented itself, I was excited to get back in.
You know, in the late 80s, early 90s, the Twins' biggest rival was the Oakland A's. It was the closest thing that we're probably going to experience to the Yankee Red Sox thing. What was it like from your perspective? Because there always seemed to be a little added excitement when Oakland came to the Dome, or when we were there. Those games typically seemed to always be so important.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, first of all, we had two great managers, Tony La Russa out in Oakland and Tom Kelly, obviously here in Minnesota, and the rivalry that we had amongst ourselves was very well respected. Both managers respected each other. The players, the Canseco's, McGuire's, the Hendersons from Oakland respected, the Puckett's, the Herbicks, the Gaddis from the Twins. And what we really liked to do was just go out there and really play good, hard, clean baseball. And yeah, some guys got beaten, some guys got ran over, but ultimately each team was going out there trying to do what they could do to win that particular game.
Brian may be going through a position change from shortstop to second, but that was something you had to deal with very early in your professional career.
Yes, it did. I mean, I was originally drafted as a third baseman, and I was drafted in '84 or '83, and I played the '83-'84 season. And in Oakland, the A's drafted this guy off the USA Olympic team by the name of Mark McGuire, and they project these scenarios out there that he was supposed to play third base. So after the '84 season, they said, hey, we need to make a positional change for you. And so I actually went to instructional league, never have caught before, and was taught how to catch there, and spent 2 years in AA ball learning how to catch, and then got called up from AA.
How's it feel to be able to put that Twins uniform back on again?
Oh, it feels great. I mean, something I learned from Tom Kelly, and I know Gardy can relate to this, but he really talked about respecting the uniform and taking pride in that uniform, and for me to have the opportunity to play and then take the uniform off for 13 years and spend time with the kids, and now to have that opportunity to put it back on is extremely exciting.
All right, thanks, Terry Steinbach. You'll get a chance to ask him some questions as well. 2 years ago, he's the manager of the year. Gardy, welcome to Worthington, Minnesota. How about a nice welcome to the Ryan Garden House? What was it like with Mr. Steinbach on the other side? You were involved in some of those great Oakland series as well.
We hated him. We didn't even like him at all. We wanted to knock him down every time he came to the plate, that type of stuff. Yeah, I won't sugarcoat it at all. Now he's my bench coach, and I can tell you this, I've managed 11 years, and this is going to be my 12th, and we have not lost a bench yet. And I'm really hoping that he doesn't lose one of our benches as my bench coach.
Let's talk about the 2013 season. Now, spring training, it seems like everything's moved up. The Caravan's moved up. Twins fans moved up a little bit. Spring training, pitchers and catchers report on February 12th, which might come in handy because you got a lot of new guys again this year.
We have a lot of new players, and it's going to have to have that laminated sheet out again in my pocket, trying to figure out names and numbers and matching them. But that's okay. We've signed some pretty good pitchers. We lost some pretty good players. Span and Revere, those pretty good players, and you end up trading them. The only way you can get good players is to probably move some to get some needs. We needed pitching desperately, and we made some moves, and hopefully these pitchers are going to work out. Unfortunately, like I said, you lose some good friends and some good players. So we'll see how it goes spring training. It's going to be exciting. We knew we had to revamp our starting pitching staff and our minor league system, and we did a little bit of both, and hopefully it's going to pay off with a lot more wins and a better baseball team.
I think Twins fans should be encouraged, just looking back to last year, not that the Twins had a particularly good season, but there were a couple of teams in the American League that once they got things turned around, facing the right direction, things really took off, speaking of Baltimore and Oakland. So as abruptly as this, the last couple of seasons kind of slipped away from the Twins, it can just as quickly turn around again, can't it?
Well, we have good players, and it's not like, as we always say, you're gifted with some of the best athletes in the world. You go to Major League camp and you have some really good players, some young guys, and you never know. You can never judge the heart of a baseball team or the players. And once you get on a roll and you get some confidence going, good things can happen. We saw that in '87 with the Twins. We saw that in '91 with the Twins. They got on a little bit of a roll. They took off, and it was a feeling that you go to the ballpark and you can't be beat. Been there, done that. I've had some very good baseball teams. Last couple of years have been a struggle with injuries and some tough pitching, but you know, I'm not saying, and I've heard people say we're revamping and getting ready for 14 and 15. Well, you know what, my contract runs out this year. I think 13 ought to be really, really good.
How about a nice hand for Ron Gardner? You know, we now will open up the microphone, if you will, to you. If you've got some questions for anybody up here, we appreciate all your support of Twins baseball, whether it's going to the games in person. I know it's kind of a long trek, but raise your hand if you went to a Twins game last year. Okay, well, yeah. You listen to the games on the radio, watch them on TV. I'll be back on TV again this year with Bert Blyleven as my primary partner. I'll also be working with Tom Kelly and with Ron Coomer and Roy Smalley. How many of you, have any of you been circled by Bert? Anybody here? You know what the deal is. You've been circled by Bert? You know what the deal is. It started about 10 years ago where he uses his telestrator and he circles Twins fans, and it's really become, you know, quite a phenomenon over the years. At home games would be very often hundreds of signs. Circle me Bert, circle me Bert. Well, it's like most things in television, it was just kind of that work, it was just kind of a spontaneous thing. Nobody sat down and planned it out or anything, but we did do one thing right in having him do it, because I honestly don't think you, it sounds right, you know, circle me Dick, because that just doesn't, that just does not sound good at all. So, anyway, if you have any questions, raise your hand and please stand up and ask your question, and we'll hand the microphone to whomever the question is directed to. Yes?
My name's Bill. I got a question for the manager. How do you, two things, how do you keep Jack Morris out of the Hall of Fame? What do you think about that? And the other is, how is it to deal with Bert since he's in the Hall of Fame?
You're asking him that?
Boy, for a minute, I thought you said that I kept Jack Morris out of the Hall of Fame. I was going, okay, step on up here, big fella. This is a family show here, and I see kids here, so I really don't want to say what I really want to say about Jack Morris not getting in the Hall of Fame. You talk about best pitcher in his era, and he was a great one. He put rings on people's fingers. They start talking about ERAs. Well, you can't judge one era to another. Dead ball era, he was in the American League with DHs, and other pitchers that are in there didn't play the National League their whole time with never a DH. And so it's different, and you just have to judge them by when they pitched and what they did in their career, and he was the best. He was one of the toughest guys I've ever seen on the mound, and I had the pleasure of sitting in the locker room. My locker, 2 chairs down from him, 1 chair in between us. He was the meanest SOB I've ever been around too on his day to pitch, but he was a great one, and it's kind of silly that he's not in the Hall of Fame, and hopefully they'll do the right thing next year. And I haven't had to live with Bert yet about being in the Hall of Fame, but it can't be any different than with him not being in the Hall of Fame. He ranks right up there as the sickest individual I've ever been around.
I won't get into what they pay me. I'll just say that they don't pay me enough to put up with him for 100 games a year. I'll save my commentary. To me, Bert is the test case for what's wrong with the Hall of Fame voting system. Not that he got in, that it took so long. And I'll discuss it with you maybe afterward. 2/3 of the voters changed their minds. The guy was either a Hall of Famer or he wasn't, and it's a crying shame for me that he had to wait till his 14th year, because his dad was gone in between the time he should have gone in and when he finally did. I get a little agitated about that too. Another question. That's all right, I'll be okay. Yes?
How does it feel to have the Terry Ryan sort of mentality again of not necessarily going for the big dogs, but building the crew again? Because it seems like that kind of the turn that's taken again now that he's back.
Are there any reporters in here that if I say something, I'm not going to get myself in trouble? I really don't want to do that. Terry Ryan hired me. He gave me my first opportunity. It's always nice working with him. He's a baseball guy. And it's nice to have him back, you know, doing what he's going to do. And he's not afraid. He goes right out and he's making deals, and he understands what we need. He understands the direction we need to get back to. And like myself, he doesn't want it to be a process. We've got a brand new ballpark. We fill it with our fans. They want to see a good baseball team, and he's trying to do that right away. And that makes me happy as manager.
Yes.
I have a couple questions. First of all, you spoke a little bit about the trades for Span and Revere. What do you have any opinion about the players in return? I think May and Alex Meyer, those young pitchers. And second of all, how much, I know you're not the front office, but how much statistical analysis goes into the decision making?
Well, you know, the young players we got back, like for Denard Span, this young man's a stud. He's about 6'7", 8", somewhere in there, throws, you know, upper 90s with a nice breaking ball. And when we traded Denard, the talk was, if you're going to do it, we have to get something really special back. What we did. If you look at all the national people talking about it, they know we got a really, really good player. And we had to with Denard. He's a really good player himself. So, and same way with Ben Revere. We got two really nice pitchers back. One's going to be in our rotation now, and the other one's really close. So we got a need there. We filled a hole, you know, at the top of our ball club. We have center fielders in our organization. Aaron Hicks is a stud. He's going to be a heck of a baseball player. He could, you know, make our club right out of spring training. Mastriani, I think y'all got to see a little bit of him last year. He's pretty good. He runs all over the place. He gets after it pretty good. And Mr. Benson, who's one of the top prospects in our organization, had some troubles, some knee injuries, but this kid can really play, a 5-tool guy. So we've got people, and the one thing we were loaded with was outfielders. We made some deals. As far as the, you know, statistical stuff, everybody in baseball does it. I've got more sheets on that doggone bench. I mean, I'm going over numbers, and you people are going, why did he take him out? Because my papers told me to. If I'd have went with my heart, I'd have been better than going with those statistics. Because you know what, and we were talking about this on the bus, you bring a pitcher and I walk out to the mound, and I know you guys all do it because my wife does it to me too. I walk out and I take the pitcher out and I come back in, and before I sit down, the guy gives up a 3-run homer. And you guys are all saying, now why in the heck did he take that guy out? Do you really believe that I would have taken him out if I'd have known that guy was going to give up a 3-run homer? And that's the way baseball goes. You take a shot and see what happens.
Yes, back there.
Has anything changed for you, knowing that you don't have another year in the contract?
I walk like this an awful lot right now. You know what? It's not. I've been blessed and really lucky here. I'm going into my 12th year as a manager of a Major League Baseball team. People talk about, well, you're on the hot seat. And when you're managing in the big leagues, it doesn't matter about your contract. You're on the hot seat every year. And I don't worry about that. You know what? I love Minnesota. I hope I never go anywhere else. I would rather retire as a Minnesota Twin and leave it at that. It's not going to be up to me. It's going to be up to guys like this right here. They're going to decide my fate. That's why I love this young man.
Some other questions? Yes.
Just curious on how great is it to play in the new Target Field after the last 2 seasons having some experience?
Okay. Brian really doesn't have a Metrodome comparison, but...
Well, we don't have to worry about the roof falling on our head. The Metrodome served its purpose, and the one thing that was great about it was we knew we were going to play. And if you drove from here, you pretty much guaranteed you were going to see a ball game. The one thing that's different about Target is that there's no guarantee that Mother Nature's going to say we're not playing tonight. But that's okay. I think we would all rather be outside, watching the sun, watching the sky. Even if it rains a little bit, it gets entertaining. It's way better outside. It's the way it's supposed to be. I've said this 1,000 times. In the Metrodome, we used to wash our uniforms and get a little dirt off and a little AstroTurf burns. Now we get grass on them. We have to use soap. We killed the budget with soap, but we get to wash our uniforms again, and that's good.
Remember 3 years ago, it was the first series, I think the second or third game of the year against the Red Sox, and it started raining lightly. And I don't know if you remember, maybe you were there, maybe you watched on TV, there was an audible round of applause. Twins fans were waiting for almost 30 years to get rained on at a ball game, and it was kind of neat actually that, hey, here comes the rain. All right, this is what we wanted. So anyway, some other another question. Yes.
Brian, tell us about your minor league experience when you were.
Yeah, I spent a little over 2 years in the minor leagues, and I started out with a great group of coaches in rookie ball, and I spent a half a season in low A, split between low A and high A, and did the same thing with low A and double A, and then I spent a few weeks last year in triple A before I was called up. But the minor league process, I came from a very good college baseball program in Southern Miss. He's a Texas Longhorn, so we were fortunate to go to Omaha and play the World Series our last year, and he's been to Omaha.
We have a map of Omaha we can get.
See, he's always right. But a very good program at Southern Miss, a blue-collar program that is kind of like pretty much just like the Twins, to be honest with you. It's just everybody gets it, and everybody's he's always on.
Sorry.
But no, and then the minor league switch, especially from metal bats to wooden bats, you had to get used to that. But all throughout the Twins farm system, the coaches are unbelievable, and then getting to meet so many new guys, and the player, the interaction, and the learning that you have to put forth to be a Major League Baseball player, and it's a process. And I was fortunate enough to only spend a couple of years, and hopefully no more years in the minor leagues. But but at the same time, it was a good learning experience, and it's a process. So.
Another question or two? Yes, right here.
What's it like to have that very first Major League at bat, walking up there for the very first time?
I made my debut against the Angels last year, and I kind of, to be honest with you, it kind of really did hit home until my fourth at bat when I got a base hit, my last at bat of the game. To be honest with you, I can't even remember my first at bat. There's so many emotions, and so you're so amped up and everything. And I had the opportunity. I was running sprints in the outfield before the game, and Albert Pujols, of course, one of the best players in the game now, and came over and said congratulations, and talked to him for a little bit, some words of advice, and it just so happened my fourth at bat, I got a single up the middle. I'm rounding first, and Albert's on first base, playing first base, and he gave me a little hug, and I'll never forget. He said, "It's the first of many, kid. Just remember this." And so that's kind of pretty special to me, a pretty special moment, and it's something I'll never forget. But there's no better feeling, I can promise you. So.
Terry, you remember your first Major League at bat 47, 50 years ago, whatever it was?
Oh, I see where we're going, Dick. Okay.
Ouch.
Yeah, I mean,
Dick's first Major League at bat.
Brian kind of hit the nail on the head. I mean, you work so hard, and like all of us as kids, we watched the pros on TV, and dreamed of someday having that opportunity, and you go through high school and college, and then you get drafted, and you're hoping you get that call, and for me it was the same thing. We're in Cleveland at the old stadium, and you finally get the call. I was actually in the bullpen warming up, and they called down and said, "Hey, we want you to pinch hit." And so you go sprinting down there, and you're nervous, and to feel yourself walk up there and step in the batter's box, and in the back of your mind you're just thinking all the great players that are in the same batter's box, that have hit here, that have played here, and so you go up there and just try to do the best you can. And for me, once the game started, once you were in the batter's box, it just kind of changed. I mean, it's the same thing like you did in college, like you did in high school, like you did in the minors. It's still a pitcher, still throwing a ball. You're still in the batter's box. You have a round bat, round ball. And you have to hit it. And I was fortunate. I do remember my first at bat, Brian, because I went deep. Had a home run my first time up.
Wow, very nice. Yes.
Jerry, playing against Puckett, and then also comment on the earthquake in the World Series.
Well, first question was playing against Kirby. You know, what a phenomenal player. I don't care how long you had been in the game, when you played against Puck, you learned stuff. I mean, you guys all seen it. Here's a guy that his whole career, I don't think I've ever seen him dog it down the baseline. You know, no matter what, if he had to come back here to the pitcher, he was hauling down. And as a catcher, I was, you know, fortunate to have some conversations with him as well as other players. And I mean, they came out to Oakland one time and Puck was hitting, believe it or not, like 230, 240, and he's like, oh, Steiny, I don't got it anymore, I don't got it, you know, I'm struggling, can't hit. And I go, yeah, right, Puck. When we come back in 4 months, you're going to be hitting 330, you know, tearing the league up. And sure enough, you know, 4 months later when we played the Twins again, you know, Puck's right there. But, I mean, he was, you know, obviously a dear friend of mine, really respected how he played the game, and I think the game really respected him, you know, being a first ballot inductee into the Hall of Fame, which again, you know, well deserved. As far as the earthquake goes, '89, you know, Battle of the Bay, I was part of that. You know, the A's playing the Giants, and you know, it was something in addition to, you know, winning the World Series, which, you know, Gardy has been part of one, and hopefully Brian gets to experience that too. It's what every player strives for. I mean, that is what your ultimate goal is. And then for us to be, you know, up 2-0, heading over to Candlestick, and then to have that happen. And it was really a very mixed sense of emotions, because you felt compassion for, you know, the loss of lives, the devastation that occurred in the whole area. You know, you really felt for that. But yet on the flip side, you know, and I guess if you want to call it selfishness, you know, we're 2 games away from being world champions. And in '88, the A's had lost to the Dodgers, you know, so we still had kind of that bitter taste in our mouth of losing. And here we're playing the Giants, and we're up 2-0. And so, you know, kind of went back and forth. And coverage in that area, I don't know how the coverage throughout the rest of the states were, but obviously in the Bay Area it was 24/7. I mean, you turn on the TV, you could not get away from it. They're rescuing this person, they're putting out these fires, they're trying to do this, and there was just story after story after story of heroism from, you know, from our emergency staff and people and public, and again, I can't emphasize enough how important that was, you know, to see. But finally, when they did say, okay, you know, what the Bay Area needs is to show the rest of the world that yes, we had a major catastrophe here, but we can overcome it, and we got the green light to play the game. At that point, it was for us to, you know, redirect your thoughts and processes and try to finish out what we talk about in a month. You know, a month, you know, from now, we're going to be talking about trying to have a better season, trying to get to that World Series. Well, back in '89, you know, in February, we're having the same meeting saying, hey, look, we came real close in '88. How can we fix this? How can we get better? And let's try to finish something that we started.
Now, the earthquake, by the way, they beat the Giants in 4 games, but the earthquake itself hit how much before Game 3 was supposed to be played?
It was like probably 15 minutes. I mean, the scenario that I was particularly in that situation, Bobby Welch was our 3rd pitcher. I had caught Dave Stewart Game 1, Mike Moore Game 2. Bobby Welch is going to pitch Game 3. Ron Hassey, our backup catcher or other catcher, was going to, you know, catch Welchie. So I was actually on the bench getting ready for pregame ceremonies, and you know, Minnesota people, you know what those are like. You know, watching the Twins in '87, '91, it's a very festive time, and we were sitting there, and the stadium was probably 3/4 full, if not full, just starting to get ready for intros, and all of a sudden you heard something first, and Candlestick is right next to the airport. I kind of ducked down under the dugout and thought, well, maybe there's a plane flying over, pulling a banner, I don't know, doing something, but it was real loud. And then as I was looking up, you could see this concrete overhang that kind of went around the bowl of Candlestick, and all of a sudden that thing is just like shaking, like how you would crack a whip. And you know, when it was first happening, I thought, well, that's not too bad, because I thought it was like maybe 10, you know, like kind of a metal overhang. But later you found out that was concrete. And so then when everything happened, was all said and done, you know, we ran out of the dugouts down the field, all the power's out, you know, in the stadium as well as the surrounding areas, and we thought, once we get the power on, you know, we'll go ahead and, you know, play Game 3. And just to tell you the times, we did not know how severe it was until about 10-15 minutes later, as we're waiting on the field for stuff to happen. A gentleman in the front row had a little black and white TV with a coat hanger sticking out. I mean, that was the technology back in '89, and they were starting to show that the Bay Bridge had fallen, and the Marina District was on fire, and the Nimitz Freeway had, you know, collapsed on itself. And it wasn't until that point that we knew, you know, this game wasn't going to get played. But the eerie part, you know, how do you get what was Candlestick hold, 40, 50, 50,000? How do you get 50,000 people out of the stadium in an orderly manner? You know, and so the police kind of came in with probably 30, 40 squad cars came in, kind of circled the stadium just as the game's been canceled, try to leave it in an orderly way. And the thing I remember from that, normally from San Fran to Oakland, it's like a 30, 40-minute drive, maybe with traffic, 50 minutes. It took us 4.5 hours to try to get our 4 buses, because again, Battle Bay, we had wives buses and front office buses and everything, you know, drove over. It took, you know, 4 hours to get those 4 buses back to Oakland.
Got time for another question or two. If you haven't, yes. Oh, you already had one, so we'll go back there.
Question for Ron. How do you as a manager keep your team positive when you're having a season like you had last year? And then a follow-up for Dick, because I love listening to your voice and listening to your broadcast, but how do you as a broadcaster continue to put a positive spin on the games when, you know, the team isn't playing real well and then things aren't looking good?
Well, really, you shouldn't have to keep players positive. We're in the big leagues. This is the big leagues, and there is no better place to play baseball. And you really, as a manager, you shouldn't have to motivate guys too awful much. We're in the big leagues, and this is, like I said, as good as it gets. But that's my job, to go through the clubhouse, do the best I can. The guys are trying. If you feel that they're not really giving an effort, which I don't think I've ever had that in my whole career as a manager through the minor leagues, that guys aren't giving an effort. I've always felt the guys are trying. Sometimes it's just not good enough. And even last year, it's frustrating. Yes, when you're losing ball games, everybody wants to win ball games, but there's no more frustration than you walk out in that clubhouse and see these guys who have tried as hard as they possibly can to lose ball games, and see them, you know, sitting at their lockers. So my job then is to go through, pat them on the back, keep their heads up and keep playing. We'll come back out tomorrow and see what happens. And we go about our business. I have a lot of respect for what they did. I played, wasn't very good. You didn't ask me about my first big league hit. I did get a big league hit.
Still waiting.
Yeah. My first big league hit was off Bruce Sutter. Is he Hall of Fame? Oh, I think he is. I think he is, my bad. Oh, there. Yeah, but I didn't get too many more after that. But I did get a big league hit, and it was the greatest experience in the world. My first game was in the Astrodome. The first time, the only game I saw as a kid growing up, from Okmulgee, Oklahoma. We got on a bus. I played for the VFW. We had won the championship. VFW paid for us to go to Houston to watch Johnny Bench with the Cincinnati Reds play Houston Astros. So I got to see my first game in the Astrodome with my father and a bunch of the kids that I played with. So when I got called up to the Astrodome, which made it really, really special. When I got on the field the first time, I honestly was in awe. There's little guns and shooting bullets flying everywhere in that Astrodome, and it was the greatest feeling in the world. And I made my first out in the Astrodome, but it was I hit a rocket. I'm going to tell you this right now. Almost a home run. A guy dove over the fence, pulled it back. Okay, we're getting deep. All right.
Remember the other part of that question?
Well, everything he said about how lucky we are to be in the big leagues is true for me too. I started in the early 80s, and back then the Twins typically didn't have very good years. It really didn't matter. The TV ratings, the people who worry about things like that, that's their concern. And if there were twice as many people watching 3 years ago as were watching last year, it really didn't make any difference. You're watching, Jerry and Sue Polly are over here, they're watching, people I know are watching, and the numbers might be significantly down than when the Twins are winning 96 ball games a year, but you've got a responsibility. If someone's going to invest their time in watching the games in person, Ron Gardenhire's job and the player's job is to give them a good show. And on TV, it's the same thing. If somebody's going to invest the time in watching your broadcast, you better be prepared and you better be positive, because that's what people have every reason to expect. So, yes?
I think when we play them interleague games, wouldn't it be more interesting if we went by their ballpark stuff?
Absolutely.
You know
Absolutely.
I've said all along, here in Minnesota, we should actually, have the pitcher's head.
What was the question?
The question was, when we play interleague games, should they flip-flop it? And the National League pitchers come into our ballpark, and our pitchers actually hit in our ballpark when we go to a National League park, DH. So you can see both leagues and make a decision for yourself which one you like. For me, I played in the National League, and the sad thing was sometimes the pitcher batted 8th and I batted 9th. but it was fun. It was enjoyable.
Hey, we know we've got some very loyal Twins fans here, so we've got some prizes we're going to give away, and we're going to kind of turn it into a little bit of a question and answer, only this time I'm going to be, oh, we've got a raffle. Okay, never mind then. Okay, I didn't know we had raffle tickets. So, do we want to make a big deal about the thing that the guys here at a baseball luncheon wearing a Viking sweatshirt? Are we going to let that go?
I mentioned that when he walked in.
Well, we've got some raffle prizes here. We're going to have Terry sign a baseball, Brian and a Gardy, and we'll start with, I was going to call it a one-of-a-kind Ron Gardenhire bobblehead, but we've got 2 of them. 3 of them. All right.
2 medallion sets.
And 2 medallion sets. Well, let's start with a medallion set, and those are the numbers. We'll have, I'll draw the first one just to get things going here. Oh, there's 2 of them. Dave Walker. There's Dave. He gets a vintage medallion set. We have another one of those. Tammy Weesey? Tammy over there? Did I get the last name right?
Weiss.
Weiss. All right.
That would be Tara's buddy's mother.
Oh, really? Oh, so you're connected here.
Yes.
Okay.
My daughter went to Marshall, to Southwest, actually.
Oh, yeah? Okay. Terry, would you hand a Ron Gardenhire bobblehead to Ron Gardenhire? He can deliver these. Alva Morrison. All right, Alva. The manager's going to give you one of his bobbleheads.
You're very welcome. They didn't sell very well this year, so I'm giving
Another Ron Gardenhire bobblehead. Don't sit down. We got another one for you to run up. Greg Weedy. All right. Okay. And another Ron Gardenhire bobblehead going to Catherine Kazemba. Catherine, right there. Okay, very good. We'll keep it in the Ron Gardenhire theme so we can sit down. An autographed baseball from Ron Gardenhire, Gerald Pauly. So there you go. A Brian Dozier. A Brian Dozier autographed baseball. Dan Condon. Dan over here. And a Terry Steinbach autographed baseball. Dan Machado. Right over there.
Nice.
Very nice. With that, we're going to wrap things up. We thank you for your support of Twins baseball, and we hope to see you at Target Field frequently in 2013. Stay warm.